There is music in our ceremonies. There is music in the words that we use. There is rhythm. There is pace. There is breath. There is life. And I feel that that is the reason why Spirit says that it is all that you need. I wanted to take a moment to talk to you guys because I'm noticing that there has been something that's been coming through my intuition as of recently. And I know that right now we are in a time where the world is trying to figure itself out. I know that the universe right now, it's been feeling a lot like it's been solving this really intense mathematical equation, and it's been very complex as it tries to piece together the things that were broken, as it tries to build back up what was lost and or reconfigure the things that have been deconstructed and deprogrammed. And I feel like now people are in a space in their life where they may not be feeling as connected to themselves or as connected to their partners or as connected to the world. If anything, they may have been feeling the need to disengage, to retreat, to disconnect from the world because of everything that is going on. I also have this feeling that what some people may not be talking about is the fact that they may feel disconnected from their guides and from source and whatnot. And for some people, I don't know why I've been hearing that for some people, they're losing touch, or they're losing their knowing and their knowledge and their wisdom on how to talk to spirit, how to talk to their guides, how to talk to source. And I want to say this to whoever this is for, and I feel it deep within my spirit, that this is for someone who is tired. They may feel overworked, they may feel overwhelmed, and they may just simply feel like there's way too many things that are going on outside of them that is causing them to feel disconnected from themselves. And I feel like for some of them, they've lost touch on how to talk to spirit. So this is something that I feel is going to be a very, very, very quick message, and I'm hoping that it reaches you in divine timing. I'm hoping that it reaches you in exactly the moment that you need it the most. I know that right now the world and people and, people who are in the spiritual community, maybe perhaps, or whoever may be pushing classes, or they may be saying, take this class for this and take this course for that. But one thing that I want to say is that, to be honest with you, when you feel overwhelmed and when you feel like there's way too many choices and way too many things that are out there to help you and whatnot, I want you to lean into your own ability to breathe, and I want you to lean into your own ability to talk directly to source. But for those of you feel like you may not want to spend the extra money on getting a candle, you may not want to spend the extra money on getting oils or whatnot, or even services, you can do this at home. You can do this right now, immediately after this video. Once you're done fully watching this video, make sure you give it a try. And this is going to be the easiest way to talk to your guides, without crystals, without candles, without tools, without anything, without nothing but your own body, your own breath, your own mind, and just you in a sacred space where you can have a few minutes of quiet. Because if all you have is a couple of minutes, if all you have is 5 minutes, if all you have is 1 minute, that's all you need. The way that you can reach your guides and talk to the universe when it comes to manifestation, when it comes to, changing things in your life, if you will, or whenever it comes to you speaking to the universe to make shifts and to help you pivot out of these old stagnant situations, all you need is an open heart, an open mind, and an honest frequency. That is all you need, and source will hear you. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm someone that does not like to write everything down because my life gets extremely busy. I don't always have a notepad on me. I don't always have my phone on me. At times, all I have is just myself, my breath, my body, and God. That is it. I don't have anything else. And I'm going to be honest with you. One of the biggest manifestations I have ever made in my life did not come from me doing an elaborate ritual. Although elaborate rituals and ceremonies and things are good when it helps you to expand your consciousness, when it helps you to tap into your own energy. But at times, all you need, again, is just your breath, your words, and an honest frequency, an open heart, and your guides, the divine spirit, will hear you. One of the easiest ways that I do this is I like to sit. I like to center myself. If I know that I don't have a lot of time, I will sit with myself. I will sit with spirit, and I will close my eyes, and I will take a few deep breaths in, and I will tell exactly what it is that is on my heart. And the thing is that I don't allow myself to come up with this super elaborate prayer with this extensive vocabulary, because spirit knows when you're faking it. The same way you'll be out on the street and you'll be talking to someone and they know and they can sniff out a performance, the same way when you are out on the street and you're talking to someone and you know that they're BSing around, or you know that that's not really them, spirit and your guides and God, they know. So it's best for you to just simply be open, and you let them know, God, universe, and make sure that you are in a space where you are talking directly to the energy that you want to speak with, because you don't want to just be in this, scared mindset, or you don't want to be fearful, because the fact that the universe is so vast, I mean, you don't know what you'll be attracting. You always want to make sure that you are in a space where you are calm, where you are collected, and you want to know deeply that you are in a space where you are talking directly to the spirits or the energies that you want to address, because again, you do not want any type of malevolent energies coming to you seeking to see what you're doing and get nosy and try to wreak havoc, because it just can. You don't want that. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are at the frequency, the highest frequency that you possibly can be. But if all you have is hurt and pain and disappointment, even that in itself can be transmuted into a frequency that the universe itself will respond to help you in that moment. There was a time in my own life where I just felt like I was just losing it, like losing my shit, excuse my French, if you're around your kids. And this was actually around the time where I ended up losing my husband. And I remember we actually ended up planning to move to Virginia before he passed away. And we had everything set, we had made the decision. We were getting the signs, the synchronicities and whatnot. I'll make sure to, well, actually, no, I can't link the video because it's not on this channel. It's on my Magic of Eden's channel. So that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so we ended up making the choice and the decision to move here to Virginia. But after he passed away, I didn't think that I was going to go anymore. All I remember was that I was just in so much pain, distraught, suffering, and I was going through a lot at that time, because at the time I had lost him when I was 3 months postpartum with my second child, and he's 3 now. He'll be 4 in October. And so at that time, I just did not know exactly what was supposed to be for me. I thought that life was just not, it just wasn't, it just wasn't it anymore. Like, I didn't know what to do. I knew that I needed another car. I didn't know if I was going to be moving or not. And I remember getting an astrology reading done by someone, because even though I can read the charts myself, at times I like to support people and things like that. You guys know that about me by now. Even though I can read astrology, I can read a chart, I like to support people who can and whatnot. So at the time, I had someone read a chart for me and whatnot, or read my natal chart. Long story short, I remember her mentioning how I definitely could be moving in probably like very early September, maybe like around like the first 5 days or so. At least that's what I thought. So I remember her saying that, and I remember like, yeah, probably not, because I don't have a car right now. The car that I have is unreliable. I'm not working at the moment. How am I going to get the funds and things like that? And I remember just going home and going to my mother's house at the time, because she let me stay with her and whatnot. And I remember just telling Spirit, I remember just opening up my heart. Like I told you, I remember opening up my heart, and I said, Spirit, guides, ancestors, beings of light who want the best for my highest and my greatest good, if it is truly meant for me to move to Virginia, please make sure that I have a car that is reliable, that I can use to get me there, and to also keep that it's fully paid off. That way I can have it when I'm out there, that I can afford, that will help me and my babies move, if it is so, if it's, if that's what we're meant to do. And I said, Spirit, please move me to a place where I know that I'm meant to be. I'm just going to leave that there, because I'm going to leave a little bit of mystery for another story time later on. Mark my words, okay? Trust me on that. I'll put a pin in that one. And I remember just trusting. I was like, you know what? This is all I got. I didn't write anything down at that point. I just remember saying, I'm just going to do that. Now, mind you, I remember writing things down prior to that, but it was including my husband. So I really don't want to say that that counted, because in my head, me and my husband at the time, like, we were setting our intentions for us to move. So I remember just telling the universe, like, listen, like, if it's really meant for me to go, please make sure that I have the tools and whatnot, the money, the resources, all of it. And I remember being at my sister's house, going to I don't want to say her name out of her protection, one of my sister's house. And I remember just kind of being like at her bars. I don't know if it's like a bar thing or like at this table. And I remember doing some like a reading for myself. And I was like, yes, it's like, I think I really want to get a car. You know what I mean? And it's so funny because actually before that, I actually ended up getting money. I don't want to say how, but you know what? I'll say how. So it was around the time where, for those people who had passed away because there was COVID in their system, then you would basically get, you know, a check. I think it was from like FEMA or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, if they put on the death certificate that was the cause of it and whatnot, that you would actually get funding. So I got funding from that. And I also got funding from other ways that I don't really need to mention. So yeah, I ended up coming up with the money in that way, you know, because, hey, you know, and I just thought it was like, wow, like, I can't believe that happened. And so all of these different monies were like put in place for me. And I was like, and the kids, and I was just like, wow. And so I said, okay, well, you know, I want to go ahead and get a car because that's what we needed to, you know, move what we were supposed to be moving. And I remember even at that time I was looking for apartments. I was like, okay, what are we going to do? Because like, what is the point of getting this, you know, if, you know, we're not going to move, you know, I want to get a car. Yes, but I got to have the money to pay for it and all that stuff, whatever. I was like, well, there's a way. So I then remembered that at that time when I spoke to God, I remember feeling this feeling like, okay, I'm okay. But then my logical mind just kept me up in spaces that I did not want to be in. I felt like it had a chain on me. Like I felt like it was trying to keep me safe. And so I decided that instead of me listening to that logical mind, that I would keep my heart open. And that is one of the very key things that you want to remember when you are talking to the universe, when you are talking to your guides. You don't want your logical mind to infiltrate your ego, trying to keep you safe and limited by not letting you do anything. Because at the end of the day, you make the conscious decision as to whether or not you're going to make the move. And so because I trusted the universe more than I trusted my own doubt, I allowed myself to trust. And that is a key thing. When you are speaking to the universe, you want to trust. You want to ensure that you yourself are in a space where you are open, because when you are open to the infinite possibilities, as long as you yourself are not being harmed and that someone else that you love is not being harmed, or even someone else that you may not love, as long as no one's being harmed, we're good, right? So at that time, I opened myself up, and I remember telling her, like, I really do want to get a car. So anyway, so I ended up like calling up, you know, my friend at the time, you know, I let her know, hey, you know, I want to go to like a dealership. Like, do you want to go with me tomorrow? Whatever. She agreed. So we went, we went to one dealership, and I just was not feeling it. So then we ended up going to a different one. That very same day, I ended up manifesting that car. That very same day, I said, I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna get a car. So we go to the dealership, the second one. We go to the dealership, and when we get there, I remember the guy was like showing me like these different cars. Mind you, I had already looked online and things like that, but I wasn't really liking the ones that I saw. I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm skipping past stuff, like, okay, whatever. And it's so funny because I'm skipping ahead, but I want to backtrack a little bit, because when I was doing the reading, I remember getting several cards. I remember getting like the Magician and some other stuff. And in the reading, I remember Spirit told me to be open and improvise. And also sometimes, like when you're working your magic or when you're doing things, you want to improvise and you want to do it on the fly, because sometimes the best things come from you doing it without practice. Like, just do it, just go. Improvise. And it was like this improvisation. And at the time I was like, what do you mean improvisation? Like, I'm not doing art right now, right? But anyway, so Spirit just basically told me like improvisation. I was like, okay, cool. So I go to the dealership. I kid you not, I was looking past like all this stuff, and he was like, okay. I pointed to like this 2018, I think it was like a Chevy was it an Equinox? I can't remember. It was one of those, and it was like a 2018 or something like that. So he goes to get the key. He couldn't find the keys, and then I remember he brought another one that was like 2019 or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll look at that one. So then he finds the key, and then we go to the car, but then the car won't turn on. He was like, well, that's weird. I don't know, like, yeah, it's not working. I don't know why it's not working, but we'll fix it. But I do have the 2020. And I was like, oh, you're just going to keep going up, right? So we all laughed because I'm like, why do you keep going up? Like, I asked for 2018. But anyway, but I remember, and this is a very key thing here, I remember when we approached the 2020, and I remember looking at it, and I just felt like this really strong urge and this pull. And it just felt like it was like gravitating towards me, almost kind of like if you have like magnets and then you just kind of put them together, like how you can feel the energy of them coming together. Like that's what it felt like. And it was so odd. I was like, wait a minute, why do I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do? And I remember looking at my friend at the time and I was like, I'm leaving off the lot with that car. And it's so interesting because I left off the lot with the car. It was so crazy. I did not do any crazy elaborate ritual. I didn't even use an oil at that time. And that's the crazy thing because you know me, I love using my oils. I love using my candles. I love working my magic and things like that. But for whatever reason at that time, I just simply did not need it. Because I was so open and in alignment, and it was another way for me to communicate with the universe, especially because I'm someone who's very airy and very wordy because I have fiery as well and earthy, and watery. I'm pretty much all the elements really. If you look at my chart, you'll see. And I remember getting that car that same day that I went to the dealership. And it's so funny because I actually ended up finding an apartment shortly after. Everything aligned and it was so wild. I said, wait a minute. I have the car now. Now we're going to move for sure. Like, I was able to make a payment and like I was able to put money down on an apartment for me and my boys. I was just like, wow. And it's all because I decided to open up my heart, speak to the universe and trust. That is all we have to do sometimes is open up our hearts, be honest about what we need, about what we want, about what can help us along our journey. That is all that we need sometimes, and our prayers will be answered. And I feel like when you're connecting to the universe, you're truly connecting to yourself. You are connecting to your higher mind. You are connecting with the void that is within you. And that is something that cannot go overlooked, because when you trust and you surrender and you don't try to control what the process looks like, when you don't try to control the outcome of everything, when you allow yourself to improvise, meaning that you just go with what is flowing, you're going with the flow, you're letting things come out, you're allowing your intuition to play, you're allowing your intuition to guide you fluidly. That is you exercising your power as the divine feminine. And that is exactly what you are doing when you are speaking to your guides, when you're speaking to God, when you're speaking to your ancestors. Sometimes they would prefer that you go through with that way because that lets them know that you are in the moment without anything else. You are not depending or being dependent on anything else. It is just you and them and their presence, you and your presence. And that is all you need sometimes. So for anyone right now that may be having trouble with manifesting anything or speaking to God and whatnot, remember to have an open heart, an open mind, and know exactly what it is that you want to say. And even if you feel like you don't know what to say, improvise. But as long as you are feeling it in the moment, when someone is playing the saxophone or piano, and then they're getting a feel of the chords and a tone, they can allow their fingers and they can allow their body to take over. They allow themselves to be filled with the essence that is theirs for one, but they allow themselves to be filled with this godly essence to help them navigate these notes and create this symphony, to create this music. And that is essentially what you are doing while you are allowing yourself to be guided through the process of talking to God. And I feel like that is so beautiful because the words that you exchange between you, right, and God, that itself is a song. And I feel like so often we forget about that. We forget that there is music in our prayers. There is music in our ceremonies. There is music in the words that we use. There is rhythm. There is pace. There is breath. There is life. And I feel that that is the reason why Spirit says that it is all that you need. You are the music. You are the notes. It is you, and Spirit responds to you. I want you to always remember that you don't need a whole bunch of extra tools to talk to God, because you are the tool. You are the tool. And I want you to remember that you can talk to God at any point in time you want, to Spirit anytime you want. Yes, I know that there are some technicalities when you want to talk to spirits and, you know, you want to talk to the dead and whatever. You know, I know a lot of people like to say the witching hour or, you know, 3 a.m., you know, or maybe 12 a.m. or whatever it may be. No matter what time it is, God is not linear. So God will be open to speaking to you at any point in time. God does not need a clock. God does not talk to you depending on a clock, because before the clocks, what did you have? You have an internal system. You have an intuition that God has always spoken through. God will speak to you when God is ready. She will speak to you when she is ready, when you are ready, when you are open. And that is the best way, the easiest way to talk to the universe. Just be open. With discernment. I want to say with discernment, because, you know, some spirits, you know, they like to test you a little bit. You know, they want to make sure, they want to act like they just, oh, you know, I'm just so holy. Yes. And you want to test the fucking spirit because, oops. And you want to test the spirit though, because some spirits be acting like they just, you know, they all good. And you just like, oh yeah, okay, we'll see. Bet. Anyway. I hope that this helped whoever needed to hear it. I hope that you got what you needed out of this video. I hope that it served you. I hope that you listening to that story helped you to maybe feel inspired enough to maybe try it on your own. Remember, take a deep breath, spend some time alone, a quiet place. Talk to God about exactly what is on your heart and watch the signs and the synchronicities. You may see it through songs. You may see it through, you know, something that someone says, a shirt that they may be wearing, or you may see it, you know, on a website or something. Make sure that your phones are not around you. I forgot to say that. Make sure that you have no devices around you, because you really want to make sure that it's not rigged. Make sure it's not rigged. Like, you turn your devices off, keep them away from you, and make sure that you are open. You will see the signs. You will feel the signs before anything. Trust your intuition. Okay, I love you guys so much. If y'all need anything from me, please feel free to visit me online over at the SaiyonanPath.org. If y'all want to, you guys can also follow along with me over on Instagram at Magic of Eden. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this video and for watching it all the way through. Thank you all so very much for spending time with me here today. I love you, and I will catch you in my next video.